Welcome to modern-day Manchester, a beautiful and bustling city, gateway to the north of England. The original modern city, Manchester has a proud, radical history of innovation and reform. And 2019 marks the 200th anniversary of a landmark event which changed the city and the world forever. That event came to be known as the Peterloo Massacre, and the people of Manchester will mark the anniversary with a series of events this year. I'm Neil Bell, and I played Samuel Bamford in award-winning director Mike Leigh's recent film Peterloo. I'm here to tell you how you can discover more about the history of that fateful day in 1819 with a visit to Manchester. I'm in St. Peter's Square, which took its name from St. Peter's Church, not far from the site of what was to become known as the Peterloo Massacre. What started out as a peaceful rally attended by thousands of people asking for political reform ended in tragedy. Massed forces crushed the protest, killing an estimated 18 people and injuring hundreds more. A lot has changed in 200 years, but there are links to the past all over the city centre. So join me as I explore the city of Peterloo. And where better to start than at one of Manchester's oldest hostelries, the Britain's Protection. Fancy a pint, anyone? Step inside the Britain's Protection and you'll find a traditional pub packed with history. The walls are decorated with artwork depicting Peterloo, which happened only a few hundred feet away. Even the pub sign is a reminder that people caught up in Peterloo passed by the door. The Britain's Protection took its name from its role as a place where army recruiters would come, looking for men to ply with strong drink and sign up to fight in the Napoleonic War. That fight ended in defeat for Napoleon in the 1815 Battle of Waterloo. But there were hard times ahead for soldiers returning home to hungry families with no vote or parliamentary representation. The name Peterloo was coined as a macabre play on the name St. Peter's Field and Waterloo. An horrific scene played out near the doorstep of this beautiful old pub. Want to know more? Then come with me to the People's History Museum. Manchester is packed with places where you can find out more about the history of the city and how it shaped the world. The People's History Museum is one of them. Until February 2020, the museum is hosting Disrupt, Peterloo and Protest, a headline exhibition telling the story of Peterloo and highlighting its relevance today. I'm here to meet researcher Shirin Hirsch to find out more.
So in the years before Peterloo, life was pretty grim for ordinary people. People were brought into the urban centres, places like Manchester, in huge numbers and brought into large workplaces. And after the Napoleonic Wars, there was a Great Depression, so wages went down. And at the same time, prices of bread went up. So there was big discontent for ordinary people in Manchester. At the time, really, only 3% of the population can vote. And so there was great inequality in the area and no political representation for ordinary people.
And what were reformers like Samuel Bamford hoping to achieve?
So people like Samuel Bamford are calling for suffrage, for the right to vote, and they're calling for opposing the Corn Laws at the time, and they're calling for equality, really, for a great change, and they're calling for democracy across the country.
The highlight of that peaceful meeting at St. Peter's Field was to be a speech by radical speaker and agitator Henry Hunt. People from all over the region travelled on foot and in their thousands. Around 10,000 people made their way from Oldham. Up to 5,000 people travelled from Stockport. My Peterloo character, Sam Bamford, led a party from Middleton, about 6 miles outside of Manchester. The Middleton contingent had been met by a party from Rochdale, who'd already walked 6 miles that morning. At this stage, there were around 8,000 of them walking towards St. Peter's Field, singing and chanting. Orator Hunt had told the crowd to come armed with no other weapon but that of a self-approving conscience. Many of them wore their Sunday best. The entire thing was meant by the organisers and the participants to be a peaceful meeting. An estimated 60,000 people walked into the centre of Manchester that morning. In spite of the protest's peaceful objectives, the authorities were frightened and seemingly determined to see trouble. Formerly the Free Trade Hall, and now the Radisson Blu Edwardian Hotel. It's hard to imagine, but 200 years ago, this would be where one of the most infamous events in British history was about to unfold. By 11 AM on the day of Peterloo, the magistrates were keeping a close eye on proceedings from an upstairs window of a building in Mount Street, current location of the Midland Hotel. Up to 300 special constables had formed a double line between the hustings and the magistrates. All around the town centre, the military and paramilitary backup was ready and waiting for the command to get involved. At 1:30 PM, the yeomanry arrived. On their way down Cooper Street, they knocked down and killed the first victim of Peterloo, a 2-year-old boy named William Fildes, as they set out to arrest Hunt and stop the reformist rally. The yeomanry attacked the hustings and the crowd surrounding it. The 15th Hussars arrived, followed by the Cheshire Yeomanry. At the request of the magistrates, the Hussars charged to disperse the crowd. People in buildings all around St. Peter's Field had watched the events unfold. This wall, at the corner of South Mill Street and Bootle Street, surrounds the Friends Meeting House, just as it did in 1819. And it was here that one of the crowd was crushed to death as the people tried to escape. After the charge, people sought sanctuary in the grounds. In total, 18 people are known to have been killed and up to 700 more injured. We're here at one of the most recognisable and visited parts of Manchester, between the rear of the beautiful Midland Hotel and Manchester Central. And it's here that Manchester is building a long-awaited and permanent memorial to the people who lost their lives or suffered serious injuries at Peterloo. Designed by Turner Prize winner Jeremy Deller, the memorial will be a 6-foot hill. The names of the towns and villages of the 60,000 protesters will be engraved on the steps. The memorial will also carry the names of 18 men, women and children who died at Peterloo. The immediate aftermath of Peterloo was a crackdown on reform. Orator Hunt and Sam Bamford were amongst those who were found guilty of sedition and sent to prison. But there was outrage too, and this would become the lasting legacy of Peterloo, helping to define the spirit of modern Manchester. One direct consequence of Peterloo was the foundation of the Manchester Guardian newspaper in 1821. Peterloo was a turning point, and an alliance was forged between the working and middle classes to achieve parliamentary reform. Manchester has changed massively in 200 years, but its spirit of defiance, progress and innovation survives. A century on from Peterloo, Manchester found itself again at the centre of the story of universal suffrage. A statue of suffragette leader Emmeline Pankhurst today stands in St. Peter's Square. She's pointing at the Free Trade Hall. There will be year-long exhibitions across the city to mark the 200th anniversary of Peterloo. There'll be talks, walks, performances, music, debates, choirs and songs based around the themes of protest, democracy and freedom of speech. The original modern city is packed with reminders of the past, and it remains a place where people are united in a common aim of improving the world for all. Why not come and see it for yourself?